In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. We are in our part 2 of the pandemic potluck, talking about various lessons that we, as the Congregation of Holy Cross and other people who tap in, are learning from this pandemic so that we can save those lessons, try to go back and remember those lessons, and we can save them for our children to come. Here I got actually quite a few similar comments. Let me share some of them with you, for people that said that maybe want to talk about this topic. Here's one of them. We are realizing that there's so much out there that we thought we had to have, and when the resources were less and the supplies of various things were less, lo and behold, we became more content with less. Someone else said, those who were the richest or depended on the most things suffered the most, but those who were already kind of poor or like had to grow their own food or make their own bread or whatnot, they didn't suffer as much. So the people that had more luxuries and more stuff, they kind of suffered more. They were in more pain, if you will. One said, we need things a lot less than we need people, and we need people a lot less than we need God. So based on all of the above, by the grace of God, I will talk a little bit about contentment, and hence the topic enough is enough. First of all, let's clarify a myth. Contentment does not mean that you do not have a desire for something. To not have a desire for something and the goal of getting rid of the desire for something is actually Buddhism. Buddha said, the less you desire stuff, the less pain you feel, and the ultimate goal is to not desire anything. And when a person reaches the level of not desiring anything, they've made it. They've reached the state of nirvana. And do you know what nirvana means? The state of nothingness. Does not mean heaven. It just means the state of nothingness. That's Buddhist philosophy. Contentment does not mean to have no desire. This is not possible, actually. Humanity wouldn't be able to build cities or create inventions without desire. People wouldn't get married without a desire to get married. Actually, Christians wouldn't work on becoming more and more like Christ if they didn't have a desire to be Christ-like. As a matter of fact, salvation itself wouldn't exist without desire. Now, whose desire is that? God's. You know, I've quoted this verse a bunch for various reasons, but 1 Timothy 2:4, it says, God desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. God put desire in us. Because God desires our salvation, he was incarnate, he became man, he suffered, he died, he rose from the dead, etc. And this is out of the desire that's in his heart, to give us the options to be saved. And not only that, but he put desire in our hearts. Okay? So discontentment is not to not have any desires. Discontentment is to lose one's peace because a specific desire has not been fulfilled yet, or the person gets depressed because of that. I'm doing this because perhaps it is easier if we explain what discontentment is as we explain what contentment is. Okay? Discontentment is possibly to let the desire grow and grow so much to the point where it becomes an obsession, that's what lust is, or to let it grow and grow, commit various kinds of sins because of that desire. Okay, since we talked about the myth, let's talk about some facts. First of all, if you live in the United States of America, congratulations. Seriously, you are already living better than 85% of the rest of the world. No matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter how poor you may be, if you are in the United States, living in the United States, hopefully legally, you are living better than 85% of the rest of the world. If you have a refrigerator, that bumps to better than 95% of the rest of the world. Can you imagine that? Okay. The level of luxury and comfort is much more today than 50 or 60 years ago. This is a fact. Yet, so is the level of anxiety and depression. Why is that? So if that's the case, if life is so much better and easier now, why are we so discontent? Well, I've learned over time that knowing the causes half the solution. Knowing the causes half the battle. So let's look together at the reasons for lack of contentment these days, which are an even more widespread than the pandemic itself. Okay, why is discontent so rampant these days? Number one, unbalanced desires or ambitions. As we said before, it is okay to have desires and ambitions. God put those qualities in us for good purpose. But if our desires and ambitions go out of balance, if they go out of whack, this will lead to discontentment. There is a quote I really love because it's kind of simple and it makes so much sense. It says, if you love people, you will use money. And if you love money, you will use people. If you love people, you will use money to help people, to love on the people, to build and increase relationships. And you love money, you will use the people, you will end up using the people to build and increase your money, your stash. Okay. 1 Corinthians taught us if you have everything and if you do everything and if you like all this kind of stuff, but if you don't have love, then I'm nothing. I have nothing. Once desires and ambitions go out of balance and cause me to lose my love, I guarantee you the curse of discontentment is at the door. So keeping the balance or having balances, desires or ambitions out of balance. Number two, the plethora of options. You would think it would be the opposite, right? But that's not the case. For some reason, the more options a person has, they end up less content somehow. Perhaps it is because whatever option I pick, there's so many options out there that there's a very high chance that there is another better option than what I picked. According to Home Grounds, which is a coffee website that I just found randomly, and yes, there's tons of coffee websites out there, but look at what they said. We went, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that bullet. The first one I wanted to tell you is that we went, when I was a kid, from a few kinds of cheese, I don't know, 4 or 5 kinds of cheese, to now it's over 400 kinds of cheese. Can you imagine 400 kinds of cheese? I can't imagine the subtle differences between them. And the thing I was going to say, according to Home Grounds, the coffee website, they said that we went from 1 or 2 types of coffee to now we have over 30 types of coffee. And not only the different types, but so many variations and flavors and aromas and additives that it would take more than a lifetime to taste them all. That's what they said. It's kind of funny. When I go to a famous coffee shop chain, I feel like I'm an ancient Neanderthal, when I order just coffee. I walk in there and I say, coffee, please. And the barista does this double take, really? That's it? Just coffee? I'm yeah, just coffee, regular coffee. And then they turn around to the guy in the back, hey Bob, do we have just coffee? They're so confused sometimes. They're used to the name of an order having several words or sentences. I actually found this order on it. This is a legitimate order. A quad long shot, grande in a venti cup, half calf, double cup, no sleeves, salted caramel, mocha latte with 2 pumps of vanilla, half whole milk and half breve with no whipped cream with extra foam. What? Are you serious? No wonder they do a double take when I ask for coffee. You know, we know this in parenting, actually. If a child has a ton of choices, for example, to drink with dinner, they have a very hard time deciding and they don't like anything. If you offer one thing, they'll ask another. If you offer another, they'll ask for a third or a fourth. And actually, in parenting classes, we teach that to not tell the child what to drink, don't force something on them, but offer the child 2 choices, and both of which you're okay with. For example, would you like to drink milk or juice with dinner? Or do you want water or milk? This way they'll decide which one I want more than the other, and they'll make a decision, and they will be happy because they made a decision they're satisfied with. Having a ton of choices will more likely make you discontent with whatever choice you make, and will make you more likely to choose more than one things, more than the one thing you chose. You'll end up choosing multiple things. And this brings us to the third reason why discontentment is so rampant these days. Excellent marketing. I mean, people go to school for many years. They get graduate degrees to learn how to make you want things and to make you feel very discontent, like you're really messing up and you're really missing out if you don't have those things. The only reason a great many American families don't own an elephant is that they have never been offered an elephant for no money down and an easy monthly payments. I guarantee you, if this offer was out there somewhere, they would do it. They would do it. Okay, so one of the amazing things that I came across just about a week ago is the story of diamonds and De Beers diamonds specifically. Do you know what that diamonds aren't as special as they are made out to be? My apologies to all the brides and the brides-to-be out there. Even though scientists are now able to make diamonds that are structurally indistinguishable from mined diamonds, people are more interested in the natural ones. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you. In the late 1800s, De Beers started and they bought about 85% of raw diamonds and diamond mines out there. Then, so brilliant, they started limiting the number of diamonds that they would release to the public, even though there's tons of them out there. Then they went to ad campaigns. Like, for example, if you're my age or older, you'll recognize this. A diamond is forever. If you don't remember this, then you're probably too young. And then equating diamonds to works of art. They would do ads in magazines of diamonds with famous artists' paintings. Then the engagement ring campaign. You know, before that, it was just the gold wedding bands, right? Then the ad campaign of, this one might sound familiar, on your 10th anniversary, show her you'd marry her all over again. Of course, show her you'd marry her all over again by getting her more diamonds. By the 1990s, 80% of brides in the United States got a diamond. And since it worked so well in America, guess what? De Beers went to Japan. In 1967, almost no bride in Japan got a diamond. As recent as 1967. Just 20 years later, it jumped up to 70% of all brides in Japan getting a diamond. In the 1990s, since it worked so well, they went to China. Same slogans, same results. Then they spread the concept to an engagement diamond needs to be 2 months' salary. You probably heard that in various shows. In Japan, they tried their luck with a 3-month salary, and guess what? It worked. Then they went on dropping the names of like jewelers by celebrities and singers like Jacob or Jared. Um, and then after that, they developed something so smart called the 4 C's, the ratings for diamonds, like color, clarity, cut, and carats, like the weight. And I know many people who are listening to this or seeing this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And then not only that, the 4 C's, but they added a diamond certificate with it. So if you try to sell your diamond, you may get maybe 25 to 30% of what you paid if you're lucky. They're not going to buy it for you for more than that. You go, what happened? I thought diamonds were expensive and valuable. Well, for you, not for them. The only reason they will give you the 25 to 30% of it is that they can go back and sell it for 80 to 90% to another person who thinks that they can save some. There is a method that scientists discovered. I didn't know this until recently. There's a method that scientists discovered called chemical vapor deposition, where humans can make a very high purity, very high quality diamond, where a professional would need very specialized lab equipment to tell the difference, let alone the average person or by the eye, naked eye. Which is why the 4 top diamond suppliers came up with a slogan to an ad campaign to fight it in 2016 called "Real is Rare." That was to fight those diamonds made by vapor deposition, chemical vapor deposition. Okay, case in point. What would get 1.5 million people in America to pay a total of $15 million for a pet rock, when they could just pick one up from the ground? The brilliance of marketing. Enough said. The 4th reason for the exponential increase of discontentment is that people change, but things don't change. The thing I love now, so I spend so much or going on so much debt for it now, and then after I waited a few times, or after a few months pass or a few years pass, then over time, things go from wow to whoa, from meh to I don't want that anymore. I can't stand that thing. It is the same thing. It did not change. I'm the one who changed. We're the ones who changed. Our eyes get bigger. And even though we can't stand it anymore, we can't bear to throw it or give it away because we spent so much on it, and in some cases we went into debt for it. So what do? We put it in storage. How maddening and crazy it is for us to be so materialistic that in America today, to keep buying things that we want to the point where we can't store all of them in our houses anymore, that we have to pay money to rent more space to store those things. We are now paying money to keep things that we don't use. Storage places are like a booming business now. You find one almost like every couple of blocks, like coffee shops, actually. Number 5, letting the world define what a good life looks like will definitely lead to discontentment. Who gets to define what a good life is? The world, or you, or God? Do you notice that? A lot of discontent people are so because they are not meeting the standards of the world. You have to look this way. You have to have so many degrees. You have to be married by this age. You have to be able to go on X numbers of big vacations in order for your life to be titled good. You have to drive a car that is less than X numbers of year if your life is to be titled good, and so on and so on and so on. Now, nobody may be telling you this directly, although some might, but it is delivered to you in very intelligent ways through life, through movies, through commercials, through TV shows, through songs, through billboards, through news and talk shows on radio and on TV. There's a lovely story that I love. It's called The Story of the Industrialist and the Fisherman. Let me tell you about that. So here goes the story. A rich industrialist, I kind of highlighted some of the words with special colors so that you could kind of like notice the interesting thing of who gets to decide what a good life is. A rich industrialist was disturbed, actually disturbed, to find a fisherman sitting lazily beside his boat. "Why aren't you out there fishing?" he asked. "Well," the fisherman said, "because I've caught enough fish for today," said the fisherman. It was still early in the day, so he says, "Why don't you catch more fish than you need?" the rich man asked. The fisherman questioned. "Why would I do with them?" Then goes the industrialist. "You can earn more money," came the impatient reply, "and buy a better boat so you could go deeper and catch more fish. You could purchase nylon nets and catch even more fish and make more money. Soon you'll have a fleet of boats and be rich like me." The fisherman asked, "Then what would I do?" "You could sit down and enjoy life," said the industrialist. Guess what? "What do you think I'm doing now?" the fisherman replied as he looked placidly out to sea. Letting the world define for us what a good life should look like will definitely sooner or later lead to discontentment. Last but definitely not least, you probably were expecting this. Social media, social media, social media. Let me say it again, social media. You know that social media is simply the repackaging of the very first original temptation and sin? Look at this, Genesis 3:6. It's very interesting. It says, "So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate." First, you get them to notice and see. Then you dazzle them with the beauty of it. Then you make them feel, what do they call it? FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, why? It'd be cool to be so wise as God. Like, God is so wise. Why am I not that wise? We want to be wise like God too. And the rest is history. Sad, painful history. Think about it. What do people typically post? Most people, not all people, but most people will not post pictures of their messy house or a fight they're having with their spouse or their teens getting in trouble or a 3-hour meeting at work or a demanding boss or their belly hanging out in front of a mirror, doing a selfie or anything like that. Naturally, people post their best face, their best look, their beautiful vacation scenery, a lovely wedding proposal. Have you noticed that? How that's spreading and like people are out doing? Anyway, pictures of a cute baby, not a screen baby. You get the point. The funny thing is, even though people post similar pictures, when they see others posting those pictures, they somehow imagine that this is their everyday life. And they feel sad for themselves. They feel discontent. Or at the very least, they compare their everyday life to the vacation days of the other person who's posting it. So, my brethren, do you see why discontentment is so rampant in the United States and actually the whole industrial world? We have so much fighting against us and fighting against us reaching contentment. I'm going to stop here and I will say the rest next Sunday in part 2 of this lesson from the pandemic because it's really important and there's so much more to say about that. God willing, next time we'll talk about the 5 damaging effects that come with wanting more and the 4 ways to learn how to be content. May God get us all there by His grace. And glory be to God forever and ever. Amen.